James brought it up, 7-1. Team Empire 7-1 BDS, right? And I don't think any other team's been able to achieve that kind of domination on a team like BDS in their current form. However, I'm so sorry to say this, but if you go back and you watch that VOD, BDS played like they didn't care. They simply played like they did not care about that game. I've never seen an entire team not use strats for multiple rounds on attack in a row. And as a result, I think Team Empire are hoping that Oregon's their saving grace because they've done it before. Oh, they are going to get a nasty surprise here.
Very well could turn out to be that way. It's exactly the same as Rogue in their game in week number 9, coming up against Vitality, when Vitality beat them 7-2, I think.
Yep.
You haven't got to put one-on-one together to look at last season's standings and see where Vitality sat versus Rogue, and there was no way on paper that game should have come to be. It does feel horrible taking away from a team the achievements by saying the other team simply didn't care. But that is what the result on Monday looked like for Empire. But a win is a win. And for them, given they are near the bottom of the table, that was a massive result for them. We are into bans, though. Carly taken away to start things off by BDS. Thatcher and Wamai to follow by Empire. That ban, Wamai, first popularized by BDS. Interestingly, Mira going to be the final one to close things out as we are into yet another game of Oregon, Jess.
Carly and Thatcher ban? Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. You know who that leaves over? That leaves a Maverick. And look, both of these teams are quite capable with Maverick, so I'm not really going to say that this should be too difficult for them, but it means that they must rely on that player. Shepard picking up the Maverick, great, because he is one of the highest rated players in Empire, so not a surprise. He always manages to do really well in most rounds on both attack and defense. And then if you look on the flip side here, we've been seeing the French players bring a lot of clash recently on multiplicity of teams, so also not a surprise, but they will use it as a 6-pick. What to is the question, because they're going to start downstairs rather than upstairs. And I'm just trying to see what they've got here. A little bit of discussion about what they were going to bring. So it's a Legion and then a 6-pick from the Ace onto the Capitao. That's an interesting one, but also probably good considering Wamai is banned.
Well, looking at it, I think with the Capitao coming out, as you say, good change away. You still keep hold of that hard breach gadget. The big lean here, of course, being all about the executes. Teams are bringing the Ace for a number of reasons. 1, really good at opening walls. 2, has smoke grenades. And think about how many plants we have seen come off the back of smoke grenades, Jess, over the last couple of days. I'll tell you now, it's been a whole bloody lot. We even saw it on the last map not too long ago, with kitchen being smoked out before a plant came inside of dining. So I'm glad that they're still committing to bringing some kind of smokes along, and I think you're going to find many teams around the world commit to making more use of operators with smokes, because it's going to become such a common part of play. You may as well make use of them while you can.
Absolutely. Now you can see Brede, he's setting up for an elbow hold into blue bunker, and very likely he'll be assisted by either Rafale or Shaiko. A Banshee will also accompany them, so no one can come swinging on in and shoot some pre-fire shots over the shield. And yeah, it does look like Shaiko will be the one. And look at all of those Empire players. They're setting up here for a back take, a blue bunker take. And if you ask me, that's generally one of the key areas. I think Hap brought it up as well. You've got to take blue bunker, you've got to take elbow before you can take other areas. Otherwise, it's going to be very hard.
It's the more the fear they can just kind of come flanking up there and catch you whilst you're in boiler room, and the only way you can then really pull back is up big tower. And imagine if someone is sat inside a meeting waiting for you to come up that way. It ain't going to be a pretty story. The one thing I'm slightly worried about from Empire here is all 5 players were gathered inside a construction. It is very rare you see that coming out. Normally you'll have 1 or 2 pushing for something like the meeting hatch, some trying to push down big tower as well. It does give you that multi-angled attack whereby the defenders feel very uncomfortable, because like you can see from Shaiko right now, he's not contested playing inside a boiler room. You've got to make him uncomfortable, make him squirm before you can feel too comfortable pushing inside of the blue bunker, pushing in towards elbow and starting to look towards supply for an execute.
Well, it looks like they've been able to stave them off for almost the entire half of the round. Flames will come out, and it looks like they want to push it in through Pillar, and very likely Pillar door as well. This will push Shaiko back and allow them to push down the back. As they make their way down, it'll be Joystick on the Zofia this time in Cypher. We've seen him recently been rocking the Ash. There go the Flames. Is Shaiko just out of that radius? Yes, he is. 3 kills incoming. Shaiko will get one. Will he get the backstairs as well? This is a great entry pick for them. And now the time is dwindling away. This is all the BDS show now.
Oh, this is exactly what I thought we were going to see coming into it, but I didn't expect the side of Empire to make so many grave mistakes in not contesting Shaiko. The fact that he's able to sit here inside of the boiler room and find these free kills, no one even looking the right direction, just tells you how it's playing out. Renshira with a C4 kill coming through. That leaves Shepard all by himself, and you mentioned the importance of the Maverick. Now he is literally the only importance for this side. The last one left standing, the final grenade comes out. There's nothing else left to use that torch on. He hasn't even had to use it once in this round, but BDS have absolutely destroyed Empire, and there is still so much time left in this round.
You can see him there trying to light a candle because this is a sad story. Bring out the violin as well, ladies and gentlemen, because this is not going to end pretty.
Mate,
he's going to get a few. I mean, he's going to get a few exit kills and pad the stats. It's Shepard, but he won't get much else other than this. We've got a Lems, we've got Bride. 2v1, 20 seconds left, so very possible if he hits some nutty shots. He's hit a goo mine as well, so he'll need to pull that out. And he will do that now. This is going to time delay even further. And now it's all up to Shepard. Less than 25 HP and a limited amount of goo mines spread around the site. They're just going to wait out the time here, surely. And LMs will come swinging with the pre-fire. And that ends round one for BDS in, well, if you get, you take away those exit kills in a pretty demanding fashion.
Yeah, pretty critical at the start, the amount of damage they dealt. And I touched on it at the start around only really having the single point of entry as their focus, coming in towards the blue bunker. Didn't give any pressure to Shaiko, so he was free as he wished to step in and around that fire, and even when the fireball did come through, was still able to dart back a little bit, pull back towards the pillar, step back in once it had expired and find a second kill. You need to be putting more pressure on these players who are playing so freely in power positions like where Shaiko was on the blue bunker door. Otherwise, that is going to happen time and time again. Good effort from Shepard, but for BDS, a very dominant first round, the kind that we expected to see. We now head upstairs. Kids and Dorms going to be the next site that we step to. No key changes coming in for either side.
Defenders, protect your bomb.
Looks like BDS, they're very confident after that round, and they'll probably rock a very similar setup, using their shields to the best capacity that you can use shields on a map like Oregon. In fact, I think Oregon, outside of maybe Cafe as well, you see a lot of shield play, especially over towards Attic, Blue Bunker, so on and so forth. I would love, 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 love to be able to see the Malusi rate pick, because the Banshees just seem to be such a key part of a lot of team strategies going into this stage. It's an analyzed aspect of the new stage is how impactful I think Malusi has been, because we're seeing a lot of Ash charges, a lot of Zofia impacts go towards getting rid of those. And if you pair Banshees with shields, with all this other utility you got to get rid of, I think, Des, that's a lot to deal with as an attacker.
Can be a bloody lot. And I think, speaking about attackers, we spoke a couple of times yesterday about the addition of Ace into there and the smokes for one, but also the kind of lean it gives towards attackers. You no longer really see rounds being stalled out by, oh, we can't open this wall, therefore it's a Hail Mary through a particular area of the map. Now it tends to come down to actual executes on the site, and I'm enjoying how many more plants we've seen come through in the last couple of days. I don't have the exact stats for it, but I can guarantee you, if we sat down and crunch the numbers, there have been far more plant attempts going on this week than we've seen in the majority of the last stage, simply because Ace is enabling so many teams to be a lot safer on the actual executes with the smokes, a lot quicker at getting walls open, for example. It's making the game a lot more exciting to watch, in my opinion.
I absolutely agree. You know what I'm like, and I'm an objective-based fiend. I love plans. I love the objective play that teams are putting in. That's what I want to see, and that's what teams are able to give us now. Speaking of the Maverick, it looks like they'll actually might do a vault hole instead of opening the wall completely and making it soft. Scyther will sit tier 3 of the tower. Actually, no, he'll get the whole wall soft. That's okay. And he's actually decided to open it all himself. Thank goodness, because they need that Ash charge. There's multiple Banshees, there's multiple shields. And Shepard, he made that look very easy. And oftentimes, it's not always that easy. And Bedroom will follow as well.
It's painting us a picture, Jess. A picture of difficulty, strife, and trouble. There's always cryptic meanings in art, and that's exactly what he was drawing for us there. I have no idea how a square correlates to troubled times or anything else like that, but in these guys, I'm sure it does. We're down to about that halfway mark in the round. Still a lot of time to go. No one yet going down, but the prep work, at least on the side of the Empire, is working out better. No one-dimensional attacks, not getting picked off, but also maybe not too much awareness of where we're currently seeing Alem playing. Down inside a meeting, C4 in hand. He could do a lot of damage from below if he gets into the right position. Let's not forget that the majority of the area where Empire are right now inside of Master and in towards Trophy is soft flooring. Trophy itself not being soft, but the wardrobe and inside of Master, Most definitely
Attackers
is.
have located a bomb.
I'm wondering whether or not there's any of that attic push. They opened it up, and I'm going to make the assumption that Maverick is still over there. No, he's not. He's rotated over, and so is Scyther. There is actually no pressure coming over from attic itself. They're hoping that they can get this wall open since it's been impacted multiple times, and that's how you tend to get rid of these ace charges now. And it very much looks like with just over 30 seconds left, they're going to have to Hail Mary their way in with this lack of pinching that they originally set up for.
Pretty much every single member of Empire has been hit at least once, and finally Joystick will be taken down. I was going to say BDS unlucky to not find a kill. Renshiro is going to change that one pretty quickly, and as you say, we're coming to that final 30-second mark. This is when the pace really starts to step up. A double kill comes out for Renshiro with that owl to make that a triple. He finds 3, another one falls somewhere else to Alem, and suddenly it's down to Always by himself. And for Empire, it's been a lot of kind of tiptoeing forward here, taking things nice and slow, and then BDS have turned around and gone, right, down to the final 15 seconds. It's time to get our KD padded out, boys. That's going to be a flawless round in round number 2. And it feels like what we spoke about in the pre-game is starting to come to light. Empire having a slightly, I don't want to say an easy day, but a very casual day on Monday. BDS put their foot to the floor and really went for broke. It's showing here today as well in terms of how those games played out. It feels like this is just a continuation of what we saw on Monday.
It was really upsetting as well to see the round sort of go in that fashion, considering they had opened up, Big Tower in good time. They also had, opened up Bedroom in good time as well. But there was so many impacts being used by BDS to counter those Selmas from Ace. And that's the number one counter for Selmas these days are the impacts. It'll explode. Even one damage will get rid of them. And all of a sudden, okay, I need to throw another Selma and I need to throw another Selma. They had more than 2 impacts ready to go with this. So they had to rotate that Maverick all the way around. By the time they'd done that, Scyther had rotated too, and there was no attic pitch. That's what went wrong with that attack. So I'm wondering, had they have had everything they needed, would that have gone differently?
See how Dining and Kitchen plays out. This has been the one that I think is somewhat arguably safer for the attacking side. You take control of small tower, open the floor, get yourself some control inside of dining and a little bit of pressure in towards showers. You can open up the showers relatively comfortable and quite safely looking at it with the Hibana and the Ace on side. So I think Empire have got enough tools here to not be troubled whilst trying to get a kind of opening into the site here and getting everything set up. If they start bleeding members before they're really in a spot to look to go for an execute inside of A, I think this is pretty much catastrophic for them. But if they can hold on to all 5, this could be that offside, that 4-2 scoreline that we always talk about for defenders. This could be one of those 2 that most attackers tend to find because this is the offside for BDS.
We can look at the lineup here. Double hard bridge coming into play. Whether or not they'll get the hatch as well, I'm not sure if it's reinforced, but it won't really matter. They've got more than enough to deal with it. Looks like small tower is the first aim of their step-by-step here on attack. They'll open up above, make sure the wall has no wall denial rather, and then they'll get that open. Looks like an A plant is considered where they've all spawned. That's exactly what they want to go for. And then they've got the smokes on A. She spoke about it before. Blocking off those lines of sight with the smoke is so important. And you can do it so quickly. So look at that. All of these walls will get opened. They need to make sure showers is clear as well. That's where Rafale and Alems are playing. And once they clear that, it should be a pretty easy plant for them.
Kitchen is very rarely the kind of point of plant, I think, whether you're on this site or if you're on Kitchen and meeting together. You'll often get teams who take control of the upstairs. You often see clashes playing up there, just holding it out and then dropping through the hatch at the dying moments. And even then, will teams very rarely actually look for a plant inside a Kitchen. They'll then use that control they've gained of Kitchen to make a much safer plant inside of the A site. It's really interesting how it kind of sits the center point of both of those sets of sites, yet never really is the target for any attacking team.
I wonder if they've brought a double hard bridge here because they've come up with the multiple problems of BDS bringing many impacts for the Selmas, and that's why they brought the Hibana. That's at least my assessment here, because they've been able to bait all of the Hibanas with impacts, and then they use the Selma afterwards. If that's the counter adaptation that Empire's used here, it's a very smart one.
Interesting point, and I guess it kind of turns into what we've seen for so long last season when it did turn into, I suppose, maybe not so much last season, but maybe more like PL Season 11, saw it a bit of SI as well. We all know Clubhouse and what it's like trying to get Kitchen hatch open. Sometimes it can be an absolute nightmare with the impact wars, so maybe this is just an advancement of that, as you say. Should I go for a brief second? I swear I saw someone there that he could have taken a swipe at, but opted not to. Knows that someone's still outside, and he's going to win that one. Coming up against Scooter. Down he goes, puts us back into a 4 versus 4. Interesting to note, this is the first round that Empire found an opening kill out of the 3, where Dan picked up a Lem early on.
Changing megs.
Rafale will challenge, but knows that he's pushing up a little bit too far too early. There's still 40 seconds left on the clock, so they really want Empire to push up as far as they can without dying and being able to hold back the line. Always will be outside white window to challenge anyone rotating back. And it looks like they've been able to use their smokes, but they're actually not to the point that they're trying. Rafale and Shaiko will stop the push in for the plant. They need to cap this off and cap it off now, but the smoke, it'll shroud their position, walking through a Banshee that should have been dealt with. And Rafale says, I can't hit you, so I'll knife you.
I mean, sure. If it works, just rather than trying to shoot, just runs out and sprints him while he's already in a gunfight. Man, that's a bit BM. A man's taking a 1v1 and you disrupt him now with a knife. Hey, it still turns into a round win. It's something. BDS at 3-0. We now get to repeat those same 3 sites. And my concern here is that they haven't looked particularly close. That one, you might argue, looked like something might come out for Empire, but it never really developed to be something that we saw come to light. And even looking back to this site first time round, the big criticism I levied at the very start was Empire all pushing from one direction, about 45 seconds in, opting to change. And even then it came down to Shepard finding 3 kills for himself, being what? Can we look at that scoreboard again, actually, for a second? Have they got 4 kills in total? I think they have. That's 3 kills to Shepard and 1 going to Dan. That 3 all came in round 1. They have found 1 kill in the last 2 rounds. This just goes to show again what we said about Monday was true. Chaos played the game pretty well. BDS were just on a completely different level.
We also have to point out that Bride has no kills. He has 1 assist, so he's done damage some way, somehow. But for the most part, Bride is one of the star players of BDS. We often see him the highest rated player in all of EUL. Even bigger to point out is that, in fact, the action has never come close enough to Bride that he's had to do anything. That's how good BDS are right now. You can focus on your gunners, you can focus on your flex players, and Britta's just sitting there going, all right, boys, do you want me to do anything? I'll just sit back here. If they ever get here, I'm here, but if you don't need me, that's cool. I'll also just chill back. This round, you'll see Bride, he might just sit in closet for all we know for the entire round, on cams, ping, do whatever he needs to do. I wouldn't be surprised if for at least the first half, Bride doesn't technically do much.
It's like playing King of the Hill, and he is your king, and no one else can touch him. It's Mr. President all over again, and maybe that's BDS's big brain attempt at the game, right? That's their approach. Is saying, forget about trying to kill them, just protect Bride, and in the process, we'll kill everyone else. And that seems to work pretty well for them so far. We'll see if it continues, and I want to give a shout out actually to how the Major played out, because Renshiro was a player that even in last stage, and even prior to last stage, no one really spoke about. But in every single series that BDS played while they were at that Major, Renshiro was the MVP. Top rated, incredible stats. Shaiko was pretty quiet, Bride kind of quiet too, and that's because this guy was just taking the lion's share of the kills for himself. You've already seen him find a 3K in those first 3 rounds, and this is what I'm loving about this iteration of BDS, is it's just constantly evolving, and we're seeing them get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I know at the time when Panics got dropped, everyone was like, man, not again for Panics. You're kind of seeing why now for the side of BDS it was the right call, because Bride, he has been hyped to the heavens ever since he first joined the team. And I really can't look at this team now and say, weak link. Everyone on here is a certified gunner, and they're showing it in this game as they did on Monday.
Well, Shaiko, last time they were bottom floor, he was able to do a lot of damage, but a lot of damage has been done back. And Renshiro, I don't know how he got upstairs, because I saw him in Freezer before, but hey, looks like BDS can do more things than just gun. It looks like they can teleport as well. And Renshiro, he'll challenge meeting. And actually, this puts a big thorn in the side of Empire. Their plan is to make sure that they can move on up into meeting and the back stairs. And this is now being delayed even more. You can hear the reinforcement going off below as well. And I believe that was to bunker. And now this forces Empire to have to open that up. And with 1 minute left, Dan's job just got ever so much harder. Shaiko, low health, but he doesn't care. Joystick gone, backstairs presence gone, and he's hungry for more.
Did he get round here? I thought he was going to try and push him really aggressively there to try and get rid of the Ex-Kairos, but no, now going to make use of this hole that's been opened up actually to contest those that are outside. Almost finds one, but sadly when you're down to about 5 HP, the outcome tends to be that the one shooting back is going to find the kill, and that goes the way of Dan. It's still a 4 versus 3. It's still 40 seconds left on the clock, and only now have we finally seen Empire get control of Boiler Room. Here it's about trying to get control and to push things through. Scooter picks up one onto a Lem, this one inside of Laundry, but look who's hugging nice and close. It's Rafale holding in. Here's the drone come out, swings right and gets the down, but it's not a finish as Dan once again strikes and brings him down. And suddenly we've gone from a big advantage to the side of BDS to being everything in favor of Empire. Yes, they're all a little bit hurt. Yes, they've all taken a few bullets, but when Dan's fragging out like this, what more can you ask for? He comes for the king, It's all down to Breeday by himself in the corner, drops smoke in there, and that should be the end of Dan. No way he finishes this one off and gets the down, but in comes the double push. They're going to find this one out, always getting the kill, and Empire will pick up at least one round in this half away from BDS.
They are ever so lucky they had enough time to go for kill after the diffuser planter went down, because if they were down to 0 seconds there, that absolutely would have been a win there for BDS. They do put a round on the board, but it was a sketchy one if I've ever seen one. That came down to mere seconds. That swing from the Malusi, was it necessary? Probably not, considering that's how they managed to get access to site and get that plant down to force Bride to come out of hiding. But overall, good round, something on the board. Not convincing. We need to see what they've got for this, I guess, this round here. We got laundry room again. I mean, makes sense. Makes sense. Shaiko did a lot of damage on players there as well. We can't underestimate how well he plays Pillar Door.
And think about how a couple of times he came close to killing the player that pushed down L, and also the one outside in construction. I believe that was Dan. Dan connected the crucial shot though. Unfortunate, but on a different day, that was Shaiko getting 2 kills, and the round is pretty much done and dusted from there. But good play by Dan, especially I think to collect those 3 kills for the team and drag them over the finishing line. Goes to show that once they have control of Boiler, Empire know what they're doing. It's just trying to get over that initial hurdle of getting inside of Blue, getting yourself inside of Boiler, basing yourself down, getting back on drones, and then looking to go for the right execute at the right moment. We'll see if they can repeat the same again here, because that would be a massive swing given how the first 3 rounds went, to suddenly see Empire walking up with 2 rounds on their attacking half.
Empire must know now that the default strategy for Shaiko is to have barbed wire on backstairs, 1 ADS on the corner of it, and he'll play rotating up and down from to pillar door, backstairs. Thank you so much to Medics, that beautiful observer. And he'll also have an ADS to protect him from pillar door. He doesn't play as a conservative Jaeger. He plays a very aggressive Jaeger in that position. And for the most part, Joystick, who's had no kills, no assists, and 4 deaths, every time he's gone up against Shaiko on the back stairs, he has lost. Something has to change.
It's the freedom and flexibility that he's given. And in the first time round, no one challenged him from tower stairs. Second time round, 1 person tried. They were killed. Unfortunate, I guess. This time round, I want to see more of them looking to play with that. And given 3 of them have just burst into tower out of nowhere, that does suggest there's a bit of a change in tactic here for Empire. Meeting hatch being opened up first thing, and 2 of them now looking to push down big tower and trying to contest onto those members of BDS that are holding inside of Boiler. It's almost like they've now identified their win condition, know what control they need before they look to go for that execute.
Good time management now, all within 1 minute. Hatch is getting open, a lot of sectioning being done upstairs. No real roamers here from BDS, but that's part of their strategy. But now they'll have a LEMS on the Echo. That's a lot more intel. If you guys don't know, you can also Z ping or free ping or yellow ping, whatever you want to call it, on those Yokai drones as well. Bride, he'll rotate his shield over towards Blue Bunker, and that will give them the opposition, or what's the word I'm thinking of, Des? And I'm just watching Shaiko be a beast. I was just absolutely concerned there that they were going to let him get away with that again, and he absolutely did. But that gives them the option. The option is the word I'm looking for. There you go. Option to be able to focus on Blue Bunker, rotate back in, and reinforce that wall off. And it doesn't really matter now because the hard breach is gone.
It's one of those words that kind of escapes the mind. It's on the tip of the tongue, but you can't quite get it out right. We're not quite sure what to go with. But don't worry, Jess. I feel you. We all go through those moments sometimes. Either way, Dan first one being picked off. Not only is it Dan, though, it's the hard breach, like you say. The headband has been removed, and it's Shaiko with the freedom once again to go from Boiler into construction, push towards the corner where someone feels perfectly safe on the drone, pick them off, and then rotate back into sight. In what world should that ever be allowed? There should always be a couple of you inside of construction, playing for trades, looking to assault together, or here, like we're seeing from Empire doing, pushing really aggressively inside of Boiler. They know that Shaiko rotated back down by the looks of it and know they can now take control of this ground, but with 35 seconds to go, this has got to be a very concise execute from them, and it's got to work wonders for them. C4 comes out from Renshiro, connects onto no one as Joystick. He knows how this game plays out. He's been in it a few times before. Keeps himself safe and alive. 25 seconds on the clock, and they got to start stepping up or step back. Renshiro forcing them to take 1 back, and here come the smokes. We spoke about their importance. The ace getting them in there. Renshiro, a double kill in this round. Empire left reeling with only 2 of them pushing to the north. Looks like by the looks of it, Shepard wants the default spot, but he's put in the dirt. It's all down to a 1 versus 4. He's all by himself. Nothing left to come from this round except a BDS win as Rafal collects his 3rd kill of the round. This is 4 rounds now out of the 5 that we've seen where a player has got at least 3 kills. This is absurd.
It's deja vu over and over again, especially with that bottom floor. I really feel for Empire because you can tell they have a set strategy and they're never allowed to employ it. Whether it's Shaiko throwing a spanner in the works or whether it's someone just peeking out where they're not expecting it, they're not really diversifying their push. I think that's the big issue. Maybe they could rotate someone over to Freezer to have that pressure, especially on the Echo, who was allowed to sit there completely unchallenged other than that drone hole shot, really. And then he just moved back a couple of steps and he was safe. So I think for the most part, BDS know that they've got a really good balance on their team here. A lot of really aggressive players, a lot of passive aggressive players, and then you think about Bride, a lot of really passive players. And that has really balanced nicely, especially here on Oregon.
See how they fare back on the upstairs then. If anything else is going to come out of this half for Empire, 4-2 at this point. I think if you looked at it on paper, you'd be happy saying, okay, yeah, that's kind of expected against BDS on the defensive side, cool. But as we always say, it doesn't really paint the picture as to how these rounds have actually played out. It has been a slaughter. But let's hope they can find something so it extends the second half of the map. Otherwise, this could be over in rapid time, almost as fast as BDS's games back on Monday. And I think the fastest game we've seen so far was in APAC when Fnatic 7-0'd their opposition yesterday. I don't think we're quite at the level we're going to see a 7-0 inside of EUL just yet, but these games are definitely feeling fast when BDS takes the table, sorry.
Well, top floor looked a little bit more confident for Team Emperor, I want to say. I mean, at least they got into the opportunity to plant on bedroom side. A C4 below in the hands of Rafal, and he's going to reinforce those meeting walls as well into kitchen, which will allow him to have a little bit more safety if anyone decides to push him when he's playing for the long game. I think he wants that C4 in hand. He wants that plant denial if they do manage to get in. And well, Rafal's been a pretty good support player, especially in the last stage. And even before that, at 6 Invitational, he was one of those players I loved watching. He was a great support player. Now he's more of a flex player, and I think he's doing really well. 2 C4s below, multiple reinforcements, cameras in the hands of Bride. This should be a good one for BDS.
Hope so. And oh, this is the problem. I swear we saw this earlier on, actually, where they opened up the bottom part first, and we got 2 impact tricks coming through because, well, you've opened up the bottom side for them. You make it too easy, and that's exactly what they get away with because the lower one's been opened up first. It's almost a curse to do the lower one first rather than the higher one. You can see exactly why with how that one's shaped up for them, and that should mean that wall now stays, air quotes, closed, with only the lower part being opened up, which no man should be able to get through without being punished.
Is there an ADS here, or is that going to go down? Okay, Evil Eye will go down, and oh, that's an ugly little drawing if I've ever seen one on the closet wall. I'm not sure whether or not they'll be able to crouch through it. They'll have to prone through it. We'll have to see. It's not the prettiest looking one, but hey, another Selma will follow, and that will open up. But Dan takes the head off Red Shiro, and that is the Maestro out of commission. He won't be able to turn those Evil Eyes anymore, so I hope they were pointing the right way to begin with.
But he was all impact nated out, to be fair. So given that he's done something in this round, albeit it isn't the 3K that he got back in round number 2 when BDS found a flawless round, but it's something for them. It's all about the time, and I've also got to draw attention for the first time this match towards the drones. There are only 3 left for Team Empire with 60 seconds to go, and they still haven't dealt with Shaiko. And heaven knows you need drones and a bloody good eye for a headshot to be able to stop this man from doing what he wants to do. He is down to about 25 HP, and finally will get closed out by Scooter, playing out towards the big window. This puts a good advantage for Empire here into a 4 versus 2, and this half suddenly isn't looking so lost as what we thought. Smoke's coming out. Shepard's now in to go for the plant. You got Bride tucked in towards Kids and have one last member in a lem trying to push him from Attic. Bride's going to step up and find one, but this plant's going down, and now it's a post-plant situation that we're going to have to see these final 2 members of BDS be able to hold on to. 40 seconds to go. One swings out in front of them. Can't win that one, though. Shepard takes down a lem. It's all down to Bride. We mentioned once more, the king all by himself. How much can he actually do here? The answer is probably not an awful lot. 25 seconds to go. 3 members left alive. Angles are being covered. Jess, we all know exactly how these rounds tend to close out.
Well, I would love to see the clutch here from Bride. He's absolutely the one to be able to do it. He'll show his shoulder, and that's all she wrote. And now, looks like Empire can show us that they can put rounds on the board when they need to, but that was their last opportunity there on attack to show us that they could be dominant on attack. I said their top floor attack was much better than their bottom floor. That goes to prove it there. However, now they have to prove that their defense can really bring themselves back because they've got to win the next, let's say, 3 in a row to even seem as convincing as we need them to be. Otherwise, it's all over. It's BDS's game.
The one thing I'm somewhat concerned about is given the pace at which BDS have attacked so far, well, attack us, they've defended, but they've attacked, right? You've seen what Shaiko's been doing. He's been treating them up like it's his own, and the Empire have 0 stake in it. We always speak around how it's generally the attackers that determine the pace of the game. I'm wondering if Empire can keep up with the pace that BDS are going to come at them with here. Because although we've been speaking around BDS being this great gunning team as well, over time as they've gelled better, there has been this kind of not pure element of strategy wrapped in there. They are fundamentally a team that have some very capable gunners, and that will always be their strength. But looking at small things here, like the Nomad being brought along just to make sure Empire aren't going to pull off any nasty surprises, the double hard breach coming out once again to guarantee this hatch gets opened up inside a meeting, the things like that just scream to me. They've got a game plan in mind still, but they're going to be flexible around how they approach this one. They know they can put the fraggers in the right place and let them get to work.
Oh, Shaiko will be on the Ash. Very little surprise there, I think, to anyone, because he's been able to hit shots just with almost any operator. In fact, it used to be Shaiko that would rock the Type 89 on Hibana with a holographic. Nowadays, we've got new sights. We've got, a need for more hard breaches. Ace has been put into the meta as well. So they've shaken things up a little bit here and give Shaiko the opportunity to go back to his infamous Ash. And I want to see him get a few kills with it because he's nasty on Jaeger. We want to see him nasty on Ash too. And well, we need to see them nasty on their attack. They can't give up here. They can't put the gas off the pedal because they need these next few rounds.
They do, and after such a strong day on Monday, you don't want to come back and get absolutely hammered and reminded of why you're so low down the table. And I think that's the crushing thing, is the motivational side of things. And the player mentality this season, for those near the bottom especially, is going to be relegations. There is a very real chance for at least two of the teams here in EUL, they might not make it back here for next year. Literally the end of this year could be the last time they see themselves in EUL. It may not be. It sounds very morbid putting it that way, but it's a long hill. It's a long road to the top to get back in here. And for all 5 players for a team to get picked up into teams that are in there, or to sit together long enough to see the year out to get back in, that doesn't seem so feasible.
A very interesting thing to point out there was we saw Elems put 2 of those air jabs upstairs to make sure that no one flanked. One directly on the double door leading into meeting, and another one a little bit further up on the pillar towards the stairs. And yeah, there we go. And so if someone does flank in and they get air jabbed across, they may also hit the second one depending on the trajectory. But it also means if they get up and they try and move again, they'll hit the second. So it gives BDS a long time to react to that flank.
Playing a game of ping pong with members of Team Empire, that sounds like more than anything. By the looks of it, most of them are playing on site right now, so there is less concern to be worried about. They got to a spot now where they can start opening up these walls, and you can see those Excaliburs being scattered across rather than all committed to one wall here, just to open up the angles they need to start looking for the executes. They've got about 1 minute and 10 left. You can see Empire all bunched up down towards the south, all 5 members. So BDS have the control of the ground they need, and Scooter's been put down in the dirt by Shaiko. This could be them going for a default plant, and as long as they can deny these C4s, or someone is very adept at playing clay pigeon shooting, this could be all they need. Breede's going in. C4 tries to go out, but goes to the wrong place, and Breede did step away, but can look to step back in after these smoke canisters have expired. They've moved with enough pace here that there aren't going to be enough smoke canisters or C4s remaining, and this is going to force Empire's hand. They're going to have to go aggressive.
Well, it looks like a 2v4. A bit of a hill to climb, and oh, it's a mountain now. And Shaiko's going to cap that one off, and it looks like BDS, they are as good on their attack as they are on defense. In fact, maybe even better. That was a very convincing one for me, and what made it so convincing wasn't the fact that the flex players were really apt at doing their job, making sure the flank was being held appropriately, either with gadgets or with drones and so on and so forth, but the Hibana player that opened up the wall very quickly into, over into pillar, and then they made sure that every single line of sight was open for crossfires. No one could peek from freezer. No one could peek from the laundry rotate. That player was going down free as day.
What I just love is, I mean, it's kind of almost like a point against Empire, if anything else, is how fast BDS got control of the right areas of the map without any real pressure. You mentioned the Nomad air jabs. No one had died up until about the 70-second mark remaining. And by that point, every single member of BDS was scattered across the top of Boiler Room, somewhat down in towards construction as well. They got their backside covered up inside a tower, so there was no nasty surprises coming from above. Everything was just lined up for them, and they still had 70 seconds to execute. If that was 30 seconds left to execute, and then you're starting to see C4s and smoke canisters come out, then as Empire, you're starting to force BDS's hand into making a mistake. But because there was so much time left alive, it was Empire who were forced to try and make something happen. And even at the very start of the engagements, it was Shaiko finding 2 kills completely for free, unanswered. The first one onto Scooter, and the second one I forgot who he got, but I know that he found those 2 opening kills for the team. And by then, you're in a 5 versus 3, 65 seconds to play. Tell me, Jess, where the hell do you stop that crazy train from rolling you over at that point?
I mean, that angle from elbow in blue bunker across multiple lines of sight, you could see he tried to challenge it. He threw out a C4. The C4 got shot by the Maverick. I mean, he tried. And so I've got to commend him for that. He knew that was a power angle. He couldn't contest it. Well, that's what happens. But here, the Ashe player of Empire now, used to be Joystick, now Scyther, or Scooter as he's known in Russian. He'll be the one to play the Jaeger, the Ashe Jaeger main. He's been having a pretty good game. Does the jump out reward him? No, it doesn't. It's actually just a rotate for him to get back to site. And now for BDS, at least they know that someone has opportunity to rotate from small tower with the window open. But I don't think that will be their concern. And we see in the MVP of the EU mini major there, Renshiro, he's already on an 11K. He's doing pretty good.
He's doing very bloody good for himself, that much is fair to say. I mean, between the two of them, this is what you want for any team. And me and you have had discussions around this before, is that you can't rely on one player to always be the carry pants for your team. And Shaiko's the best example of this, right? The major is pretty quiet. Last split, he was pretty quiet as well. Definitely wasn't one of the most vocal seasons, as vocal as you can be with a gun for Shaiko. That instead fell down to Brede. And it wasn't that Shaiko had a bad season. He still went +5 on KD, -1 on the entry. It wasn't the best for him, but it was still something. But everything came down to Brede and Rafał last season, who had incredible seasons for them. And now I like how in this game, we're being reminded of what the French beast can really do, just how powerful he can be, alongside Renshiro, who clearly in the last few months has found this new confidence in himself to be able to deliver. And I'm loving seeing this iteration of BDS. The big question that I would love to see, if it comes down to it at some stage, is how they compete on the global stage. However, there are still 8 and a bit games to go here in the EUL. We'll see if they can still do enough, or 7 and a bit games, I suppose I should say, given this one's almost done.
Oh, big words, big words. I love that. Look, Empire
Is it big words though,
haven't
really?
looked bad. Let's be honest. They were able to get those 2 rounds. Yes, clutches from nowhere, really. If we talk about, the end of the round time management that they were able to accrue into a win somehow, some way. But Empire haven't looked horrific. If they were going up against a lower tier, not a lower tier team, a lower ranked team on the EUL standings, we might see a very, very close game. I just think it's because BDS is so good. And look at this, the confidence from BDS. This is what we're talking about. Empire has confident players, but none this headstrong.
It's exactly the same story as what we said about Monday. Chaos didn't play bad, just BDS were better. It feels sort of the same sort of story today. Rafał, opening kill, Plant going down just a couple of seconds after. Shaiko finding 2 kills. It is last round all over again. Empire are traumatized here, but Dan's going to find something to shut him down. But the question is, has the damage already been done? He's already got himself a couple of kills, with the opening being found by Rafał. It's down to a 4 versus 1. Can confirm, damage is done. I don't see much here in terms of how Dan manages to save this one, despite there being 30 seconds left on the clock. There's still 4 members left for him to kill, and just to add insult to injury, there's even an air jab with his name on it, Jess.
Well, that will indicate exactly where he is. And if I'm Dan, I'm just running the marathon around, trying to play time, talk to my team about what's going wrong. I would just take an easy timeout if I was him. But Rafał, he'll shoot down White Stairs and get the kill himself and finish off that round, which... Well, after Shaiko had just zoomed up White Stairs, it felt pretty much over to me. He had some really good lines of sight, even to the point where I actually thought no one knew he was there, because the smoke crossed his line of sight over in bunks, and you wouldn't do that if you knew someone was on White Stairs. So somehow, some way, BDS getting into really power positions and Empire just not even knowing that they're there. I think they had a great setup, but it's being picked apart in almost every single way here by BDS.
The fact that no one knew Shaiko was there was probably the biggest pain point, because the fact he could swing out and find 2 kills after Rafał just found the opening. This is what I love from a lot of teams, and almost what I criticised Empire for back in the first half, is these one-dimensional attacks that can really come back to bite you. You need to be able to pinch from multiple sides, otherwise say goodbye to the round. You're going to be very easy to predict. They know where you're coming from. Watch a single doorway or watch for key angles, and you can pretty much close the round out from there as long as you hit your shots. But when you've got Rafał finding a kill somewhere else and then going for a plant immediately after, and no doubt, can you imagine what Empire's comms are like at that point? Oh god, he's killed me, he's planting, what the hell, 2 of us are suddenly dead. How do you coordinate in that space of 2 or 3 seconds when they step up and achieve things like that? It is so difficult to play against this side in this iteration, and this could well be the last round we see out of Empire. BDS here potentially about to take a 7-2.
It is very odd for me to see Joystick on smoke. I've never seen it in this way. I'm just thinking about even back when I used to coach. This just wouldn't be possible. You would never see Joystick on the smoke. And the fact that we're seeing him here, 1 and 8, which is awful for him because, a lot of people have ragged on him, and I still think he's a great player. He's just, the timings that he has as a player these days are just really putting him into bad positions. So he's on the smoke now. They put Scyther on the frag. Let's see how that goes for them. They need these next, 4 rounds in a row to confirm a draw to get 1 point. Otherwise, they're walking away 7-2, 3 points in the hands of BDS. Well, looks like BDS wants to get that blue bunker control. They're Z pinging or ping 2.0ing all of the utility that exists. And I kind of think there's a new meta of having half the wall open in pillars now because it gives people a really good line of sight.
We spoke about this yesterday, and I have no doubt with how much we're seeing Oregon, we will continue to speak about this forevermore. Yes, it has been the kind of adaptation, and historically, when it's been opened up like this, you'll stick a Maestro Evil Eye through inside a bunker, and you can just see that, or not bunker, sorry, through in Boiler Room, and that just carries you the whole way through, so you essentially get free information, stick a couple of magnets around it, ADSs or whatever, and you can basically guarantee it's going to stay alive. That isn't the case in this round, of course, with no Maestro being on side, but always picks up Shaiko as he tears his way through, headshot onto the key fragger, or the key star player, should we say, for BDS in this game overall. That leaves everything down to Ranchira if BDS want to close this one out here. Otherwise, there may yet be more life coming out of the other side, but it's Rafal who steps up and collects one, almost losing his own life, as has Alem. Both of them down to a slither of HP. One more bullet going in either direction, and they'll be down on the ground.
Always was playing the key position that Shaiko was before. It was a little bit of deja vu, but flipped around, I think. And he did pretty good. He was able to take one, and that was Shaiko, so it was a little bit of karma, if you ask me. But now Rafal and Alam's down to really, really low health. I think just a breath of wind will knock them over. They might be able to hit some good shots, and good shots will be hit by Rafal. We know he's got a great aim, but this is where they're looking to open up these long lines of sight. We've seen them do this the exact same way last time. Empire should have learned. They know to hold this corner, and that's going to be a power corner for them. Guess what? They put a mute jammer there now. Good luck getting in, because now they've got key positions, and as I say that, players will go down in those key positions.
All comes down to the timing here as well as the big thing. Ranchiro almost catching out Shepard inside a freezer, but just about catching the arm a few times, puts him down to 25 HP rather than 0. But it's the fact that even with 35 seconds to go, this isn't really a pressure point right now for BDS. They can take a bit of time. They got 10-15 seconds of extra breathing space here. All 4 members now looking to push inside a boiler rather than having one going in by a freezer. That's where Alem rotated over from. So I imagine there's a good aim here to play for trades, given they have a couple of low health members. Can always send them in first and look to counter frag off the back of them.
They managed to get that mute jammer off the wall with the Maverick, and now the execute's happening, and all 4 of them are going to come zooming through, confirm the win. BDS 7-2, a very dominating fashion for them. And well, if you ask me, they look ever so confident on Oregon. Something that I think Team Empire last time they came up against them were not expecting to repeat. BDS, they show exactly why they are the kings of Europe as it currently stands.
It's almost again why I don't want to sit here and hark on someone like Empire, but on Monday they played against a very strange rogue side, and yes, they look good, but when you're against a team that isn't really turning up on the day, the lights aren't there and no one's home, it's not hard to look particularly good. And although they didn't look terrible today in the same way that Chaos didn't on Monday against BDS,